Am I the fool for not going home immediately after hearing my dad passed away? My father died 2 days ago, and I found out 2 days ago. He was sick for a very long time, and I, along with our immediate family, knew he was dying. We all came to terms with it. I visited my father as much as I could. I live 7 hours away from my parents, about 2x a year, and saw his condition worsen. When he died, I was in shock, and cried for a bit, but knew he wasn't suffering anymore, so I was okay. Same with my mother, she was with him when he died, because she was his caregiver, and when it happened, my mother called me and gave me the news. She didn't cry at all on the phone, she just told me how much she loved him and will miss him. Now my BF met my mother twice, and my dad once. However, when he heard that he died, he had a very different reaction than the rest of my family. He had tears, he hugged me. It was as if he had known him for a long time. It's weird, because for as long as I've been with him, for years, I always complained about how controlling and insensitive my father was to me and my mother. I won't get into too many details, but he most certainly is the reason for my anxiety now, along with my people-pleasing tendencies. I loved my dad, but he was not great to be around sometimes. Anyway, the point here is my BF had a reaction I would expect, but also not expect. When my father passed, my mother said she was alright. Didn't need help with cooking, because her neighbors, who are actual caterers, are making food for her and my brother is there. The house doesn't need cleaning, and she has a huge support system, my brother, her mother, her best friends, her sisters, etc. She did say that when it came time to sit down and do the actual paperwork, she'll need my help. Otherwise, she would rather me help her with invitations to the funeral and make a slideshow right now, which I said I would definitely help. Here is the issue, my BF is making me feel like I'm making excuses for not wanting to go home and see her. He says I need to be there for my mother physically right now and wants me to drop everything, all my scheduled work and doctor appointments to drive home. There is literally nothing to do when I get home, and the support I'm giving her now is sufficient, according to my mom. Again, 2 days ago he passed. Yes, I will go home and stay home on June 1st, and help out and attend the funeral 2 weeks after that, but I'm not leaving the day after hearing the news, the day before an important work event, to drive home and do nothing. We can call like we've been doing and support each other. Now, my BF is making me feel like I'm a bad daughter. I need time to let my coworkers know I'll be out of town. TLDR, am I the fool for not coming home immediately, 2 days, after hearing my father died, even when my mother said that she doesn't need me right now, and has made peace with his death, and isn't terribly sad at all? Am I the fool for not appreciating the surprise getaway my husband planned? For the past month, my husband, 27 male, and I, 28 female, have been in a rut. We've been arguing about so many trivial things. Last week, he randomly asked me if I liked eating s'mores. I said I don't care for them and rarely do I ever crave them. He then asked me what I thought of cabins and camping. I told him I don't care for either, to be honest, and the only way I would go camping is if it was a glamping experience. He nodded and said noted. Today he tells me to be ready and dressed by 4 p.m. because we have a date planned. I put on a cute outfit because all he told me was we have a special date planned. Any other time he said that, the date usually involves us going out to a fancy restaurant. So I put on a skirt, some heels, and a top. He sees my outfit, doesn't say anything. The only thing I noticed that was odd was that he brought his backpack with him. I asked him why, and he said that he just wanted to put his hoodie somewhere in case it got cold later. We get into the car, and 20 minutes into the drive, I ask him how far is the restaurant we're going to. He smiles and says, about an hour. I pull up my phone and start responding to some work emails to kill time. And then when we arrived to our destination, I honestly got so upset. It was a super tiny trailer in the middle of the West Virginia woods. There was a small picnic table outside and just woods. I ask him what we were doing there, and he turns to me and says, surprise. We're having a couples retreat. Do you like it? I walk inside the trailer, and mind you, my husband knows I am extremely claustrophobic. There is no room inside this trailer. I start panicking because A. I need physical space. B. I'm in heels and a skirt in the middle of the woods. C. He packed PJs, his toothbrush, and a change of clothes but didn't think to tell me I'd be needing anything for this date. At that point I just blatantly ask him, have I ever expressed any interest in camping to you? He said, no, and then I followed up with, you know how much I hate small spaces, what made you think I'd enjoy this? I just really want to understand. He didn't say anything. I told him I appreciated the gesture, but I could not for the life of me figure out how he thought planning this in the way he did was going to help get us out of a rut. This isn't the first time he's planned something for me that I hated. And the worst thing, I've told him before, if I've never expressed interest in something to please not gift it to me or plan a date around it. I do a very good job at giving him extremely thoughtful gifts and planning him very thoughtful dates/experiences. And today I told him that it just seems like there isn't any consideration for me in that regard. Am I the asshole for reacting the way that I did? Am I the fool for not waking my wife up and letting her sleep the whole day? Using a throwaway for obvious reasons. Just a quick background info, my wife, Heather, 36 female, and I, 35 female, have been together for the past 14 years, and married for 10. We have 2 daughters, 4 and 6 years old, together. Heather is a doctor and she works ridiculously long hours, gets tired, etc. Yesterday, she came back home after being away all day. She was on call and needed to go in for an emergency surgery, and told me she was going to sleep for a couple of hours, and asked me to wake her up by dinner so she could see the girls and I a bit. She slept around 5 p.m. I tried to wake her at 7 p.m. I called for her, softly shook her, gave her a kiss on the cheek, but she didn't get up. She is a very light sleeper, and these things wake her up 90% of the time. I thought she needed the rest and let her sleep. Heather slept until the next morning, which is when she needed to go to work. Heather was very upset the following morning, saying I should have woken her up, and that I had caused her to miss an entire day of family time. I explained that she didn't get up, and she said I just should have tried harder to wake her. I get that she wants to be present in our family, and she is, and she wants out kids to see both their moms, but I just wanted to let her get some much-needed sleep to help her be well rested for the next day. Was I genuinely the fool? Am I the fool for refusing to offer my mom a chance to do better for her kids' sake? My mom had me, 17 female, when she was 30. She was single and I never knew my father, but I did find out more info on him 2 years ago after doing some online digging and didn't like what I found. But that's neither here nor there. My mom was not a good mother. She admitted to me in the past she attempted to abort me and it failed, and she tried to give me up for adoption, but the couple who planned to adopt me got pregnant just before I was born, and so mom was like, fuck it. She covered the most basic of needs for me, and that was it. We did not spend time together. She hired a babysitter to do the day-to-day care, usually a teenager looking for money. She did not take an interest in my education. She ignored any contact from school. It was up to my babysitter to take me to medical appointments. That's just how she was. She didn't want me. When I was 9, she met a guy and she married him. I think I was 10. They had a daughter soon after, then a son, and then another daughter. I spent most of my time at friends once she got married, since my mom didn't want to pay for a babysitter anymore. Worked for me. At 10 it was painful for me to see her make a family when she hadn't wanted me. What neither of us ever expected or prepared for was the fact her kids would seek me out and want me. I try to avoid being around them where possible, because I don't want to be a jerk, but I don't want a relationship with them either. But they still look at me like I'm the coolest person they know, and try so hard to reach out to me. When mom realized this 4-ish months ago and realized how old I am, I think she panicked and she brought me to therapy with her, where she apologized for being a bad mom, admitted she had been a bad mom, and begged me for a second chance so she could do better for the sake of her 3 kids who clearly want me to be their big sister. She said she knows we have no relationship, but she doesn't want me to leave in a few months and break her kids' hearts, and she sees how wrong she is. But I have refused to offer her that chance. I told her she made her choice 17 years ago, and her kids' best interests are not something I am worried about. just my own life and how I move forward once I'm gone. My mom and her husband, who I guess she told, were both pretty angry I didn't consider their kids at all, because at least she's trying now or whatever. Am I the fool? Am I the fool for making tombstone cake for my sister's birthday? My, female 26, sister Anne, female 30, recently got her 30th birthday. And is heavily into Victorian goth aesthetic, tombstones, corsets, ravens, gloomy mansions etc. So for her party I made her a tombstone cake, a cake in the shape of tombstone decorated with roses and cobwebs with text, "Here lies your youth." And herself loved the cake and was overjoyed. However, it turned out that one of her close friends, Mike, Dad, died few weeks before the party. I didn't know it, as well I know the guy, I'm not close with him and my sister didn't mention anything about it. When Mike had seen the cake, he got pretty upset and was in a bad mood for the rest of the party. Which is pretty understandable. Mike himself didn't say anything about it, but later some of our mutual friends reached to me saying that I was callous and I shouldn't make a cake like that, as it may upset people with deceased loved ones. Obviously, I hadn't thought about it and only wanted to accommodate the cake to my sister's interests. But I start to think that maybe I should make more traditional cake for the party and give it a smaller one or tombstone cupcake/cookies as a gift, in private. Am I the fool?